Everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now today I want to talk about ISAs in the UK, what they mean and how you can set up one. So essentially I'll go straight into it. So an ISA is an individual savings account and it's a way to save or invest tax-free in the UK. So it's a really cool incentive that the government has set up and is available to everyone that lives here in the UK. So as I said, it's a way to not have to pay tax on any income that's earned when you save or invest. So for example, you won't have to pay capital gains tax here, you don't have to pay dividend tax here or income tax on any kind of interest earned over a certain amount of money. This is where it's different to a normal savings account, and you can dig into this yourself. But with a normal savings account in the UK, if you go over your personal savings allowance, you will have to pay tax on the additional interest that you earn. But with an ISA, you don't. But of course, there are a few rules with the ISA that are really important to know. So firstly, there is a limit that the amount of money that you can put into an ISA every tax year. So that is £20,000 to put into your ISA from April, kind of in the 12 months. And essentially what that means is you can put in up to 20 grand every tax year. But if you don't put in that amount, you will lose that limit, but it will start over again in the next April of you have a 20 grand limit again to put in that much amount of money as a maximum. So there are a few different types of ISAs which I want to talk through. So the first one to talk about is a cash ISA. Now this is a pretty straightforward one to understand, hopefully. It's very similar to a savings account, but as I said, it's a tax-free way to save. So you will have an interest rate like a normal savings account. You might have a quick access ISA, or you might have a fixed rate ISA. So with a fixed rate ISA, that usually means you'll get a higher interest rate, but you have to lock that money in for, it can be 1 to 5 years, that kind of thing. Or you can just have an easy access, instant access cash ISA, where you put your money in. As I said, you can put in a maximum of 20 grand per year, which is a big amount of money. Not many people will reach that limit. You can put that in every year and not have to pay tax on any of the interest earned on top of that. The second one then is the stocks and shares ISA, which I think is the most exciting one and the one that I use as well. So what a stocks and shares ISA is, you can put your money into investments in this ISA. So you can put it into stocks, as I said, bonds, or ETFs, which are exchange trade funds, which you don't need to worry too much about in this video. I'll talk about that in a later video. But essentially, a stocks and shares ISA is what you want to use if you want to get into investing in the UK. And you can obviously still invest in other index funds. It doesn't have to be just UK stocks. I just mean that the ISA itself, which is the wrapper that your money is in, essentially, that is what they call it in the UK. But you can, of course, invest in S&P 500 with a stocks and shares ISA in the UK, which is the American index fund with the stocks and shares ISA here. And the great thing about the stocks and shares ISA is, of course, you don't pay tax on anything that you earn. So let's say, for example, you have a stocks and shares ISA, you invest in the S&P 500 index fund, which is essentially an index fund that tracks the 500 top companies in America. Okay, and let's say it grows by 8% every year in your stocks and shares ISA. Now, as I said, you can put in a maximum of 20 grand every year, and you don't have to pay tax on that when it compound interest over time. So it's a great way as like a long-term investment strategy where you don't have to pay any big tax when you withdraw it then after years and years and years. So it's a really good way to save and invest. The other one that I really want to talk about is a LISA. So it's a lifetime ISA. Now, I should have mentioned this at the start with all the other types, but this one is really important and only kind of came into play in the last few years. So a LISA, or a lifetime ISA, is for someone who wants to be a first-time buyer in the UK, or maybe they want to, help with their retirement savings in the future. So it's kind of built in two different ways depending on what you need. So if you're a first-time buyer and you want to buy a house up to £450,000 in the UK, you can get involved in this lifetime ISA. You can save up to £4,000 a year in it, and it can be a cash lifetime ISA or it can be a stocks and shares ISA. You know, you could put money into stocks here either to potentially help grow your money faster, but of course with any investing there is a risk that it could go down, so just be aware of that. But the great thing with a LISA is the government will add on a 25% bonus every year. So for example, if you put in the maximum of £4,000 a year into your lifetime ISA, at the end of the year you will get £1,000 of free money from the government, which is unheard of. And that is the maximum amount that they will give you for free, which can help for your deposit, or it can help for your furniture buying, or you know, anything else within your new house that you want to buy. So it's a really cool incentive, but do be aware that this lifetime ISA is also part of that 20 grand limit. So as I said, for lifetime ISAs, they're special. You can only put in a maximum of 4 grand, but this will come out of your big, you know, 20 grand limit. So you can have multiple ISAs. You can have a lifetime ISA, you can have a stocks and shares ISA, but if you're putting 4 grand in the lifetime ISA, you only have a remainder of 16 grand to put in your other ISA, like a stocks and shares. So just be conscious of that, because if you do go over those limits, of course there will be like fines or taxes that you have to pay. So just stay within your limits. They're very generous limits, so you shouldn't be able, you know, to really go over them. And the other side of the coin with the lifetime ISA, if you already own a house, you can't use it, you know, for your next house. It's only for first-time buyers, but you can still have a lifetime ISA that you can access after the age of 60. And this is really, I think, a quite ingenious one, because depending on what part of life you are in, you can still have a lifetime ISA. So you still can pay in the maximum of 4 grand a year. You still get the 25% bonus of maximum £1,000 free from the government. But if you set up your lifetime ISA at the age of 30 and you keep adding, you know, that 4 grand a year into it, you know, you can access this without any fees when you're over 60. And this pot of money can help in your retirement. So it's a great, great incentive to get into that. Now, if you are before the age of 60 and you want to take out this money, you will get heavily fined. In a way, you will have heavy fees that you will have to pay. So it's almost not worth it in that case. So if you withdraw, you know, early, you will have these fees. There is another kind of loophole in a way. However, if you're terminally ill and only have 12 months to live, you are able to take out this money without having any fees. Now, obviously that is such a horrible circumstance, but those are the rules of the lifetime ISA set by the government. And the final one that I want to speak about is the junior ISA. Now, I don't have kids, but you know, anyone that is maybe pregnant or planning kids in the future, this is a really good one to have a look into. So what it is a junior ISA. They have a limit of 9,000. So remember I said it's usually 20,000 for adults. They can have an account in their own name, little baby, and they have a maximum of 9,000 they can put into it. Now, obviously, if you're a little baby, you're not earning any money. But what I mean is, for Christmas, for birthdays, you can get relatives to pay into that junior ISA. You can pay into it as a parent. You'll be the one setting it up as a parent, and then when they come to the age of 18, they can have access to all of that money. So if you really think about it, it's a really great way to utilize compound interest, as I said. So if you set it up as a baby and then you keep adding into it until they're 18, that is a lot of years, okay? Especially if it's up to a maximum of 9 grand per year. So thanks guys, those are all of the different forms of ISAs that I mentioned and what an ISA actually is in the UK. If you've never heard of them before, hopefully I've enlightened you a little bit as to what these definitions are. They're all on the government website if you want any more details on those, or a lot of the banks will provide these, like a lot of the big banks like Barclays, Nationwide in the UK will offer these. And then for the stocks and shares, Hargreaves Lansdown, Vanguard are really good. Vanguard is great because they tend to have lower fees when you have a stocks and shares ISA. So it's always important if you're getting into investing to understand what you're putting your money into, understand any additional fees that you might have to pay and how that might affect you. And And, you know, with all investing, there is a chance that it will dip down. You might earn a lot of money, but you also might lose money. That's just how the market goes. So if you're in it for the long run, it doesn't really matter about those highs and lows, because on average from the past it's shown that it has been, you know, beneficial for people. But of course the past doesn't emulate what's going to happen in the future, so you just have to be aware of that with investing. But thanks guys, those are all the ISAs. Hopefully that was helpful. If not, you know, maybe ask a question down in the comments. I'll be happy to answer. And feel free to subscribe. It'd be great to have you on board. I'm a channel that mainly talks about personal finance here in the UK, and I just want to help in any kind of tips for budgeting, to save money and to make a little bit more money on the side. If you've enjoyed this, you know, please press a like button. That would really help. And yeah, I'll see you next week for my next video. Okay, bye.